90.3 WHPC now presents Law You Should Know. The law affects every aspect of our lives, our home, our jobs, and our recreational activities. Now, learn about the law and how to protect yourself against the loss of your liberty or property, and learn how to stand up for your rights and seek compensation when you have been wronged. Your host for Law You Should Know is attorney Kenneth J. Landau, a past dean of the Nassau Academy of Law, and frequently lectures to lawyers on ethics and avoiding problems with clients, and to the public on how to choose and use lawyers. This is Law You Should Know on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.
Hi, this is Ken Landau, and welcome to Law You Should Know. Today we're going to discuss improving lawyer-client relationships. And our guest is Marjorie Hope, and she's the author of the book, Connect Diplomacy. And through her wisdom, she's going to give us ideas on how we can help lawyers and clients to get along better, facilitate their handling of legal matters, and leave the world a better place. Marjorie, welcome to Law You Should Know.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
What was your reason for wanting to improve relationships between people and lawyers, and relationships in general?
So the implications contributing to a more effective legal system is basically worldwide, because the improvements connect to broader global benefits. And what I mean by that is we're going through a lot of change in our world right now at a very rapid pace. And a lot of what we do is virtual. And I believe that what's going to happen is the legal field is actually going to expand with needs broader globally. So building trust in legal systems by promoting strong relationships between lawyers and clients is utmost important right now.
So you're trying to reduce controversy and conflict and enhance cooperation.
That's right. Division is something that happens all the time, and you deal with this one-on-one with people when they come in. There's always a reason they're there based on some type of division. And look, it's okay not to like everyone. And when you're having a client come to you with this problem, obviously they need to be respected and understood. And that is actually going to help with the confidence in the judicial system and the process, which is crucial for maintaining the integrity and credibility of legal institutions. And this is globally, because the problems that I believe are going to be expanding with the legal system are going to be globally. It's not going to be just the, mom and pop store down the street, although you'll still have that. But what happens with all the new amazing things coming into our life, like AI, the different things that we are experiencing, and that can range from anything. And the access to the justice system is so important to make sure that we're being inclusive of everyone and respecting our differences.
And the legal system is designed to resolve conflicts, but if we have better tools and better methods for resolving conflicts, we're going to feel better, win or lose, and we're going to want to move on from the conflict and maybe have some sort of a positive relationship, and everyone's relationship and the world will be enhanced if we can do that, rather than having continuing warfare.
That's right. When clients feel that their needs are being met and that they are receiving fair treatment and attention, they're going to be more likely to seek the legal assistance when necessary, knowing that they can have some kind of resolution, because division is always going to be there. We're always going to have, and I hate to say this, but problems, division, things that happen that people are not going to agree with, and the access to being able to help the individuals feel empowered to address their own legal issues and problems. That's what it's really all about. And that's where the connection comes in. And it's not easy. It takes a lot of listening and trying to find that answer in between everything.
And sometimes they just want to be heard. They want a judge or a lawyer or a jury to hear their story and to get it out. And sometimes that's part of the relief, just getting it out, having it aired, maybe receiving some compassion, or and then they can try to move on and release that anger or concern they had.
I agree. And a lot of what happens when there is a problem between two people, two groups of people, it's you first experience anxiety. And we all get anxiety, but it's what you do next. And the next step, if you don't address that anxiety, is fear. Now, fear is false evidence appearing real. And the next step from that is escalation. And that's where you don't want it to go. So if people and clients feel comfortable that they can say, okay, take a step back, let me get some help with this before it escalates. And then it's kind of like putting a Band-Aid on a finger when you hurt it and not waiting to the point where you've just lost so much blood you're in the hospital. I'm giving a far-fetched example, but taking care of the needs and addressing the needs and the attention to somebody in the beginning can actually go a long way all around.
And what else can they do? So it's important for people to have a forum for being listened to, and for someone, their lawyer, for a judge, to acknowledge what they're saying, even if they don't fully agree with it, and that can begin some kind of compromise or resolution?
Yeah, I think that, and you're going to see more and more where a lot of these clients that will be worldwide and will have legal issues. And of course, it's going to depend where they live, what their resolution can be. But they want to assert their rights. They want, irrespective of their location, when people come to a lawyer with a problem, it's because they feel unjust. They feel something was done not right. And I think it's going to be very important to listen to them, to find out where the solution can be. And I think it's going to open up a whole new field where you have to really think and say, wow, this is more of a global issue, or this is more of a local, or this is a more community issue, and be able to address those issues to make people feel comfortable and help legally what needs to be done.
And that's where the role of the lawyer as counselor and advisor becomes so important, because sometimes there's no way to resolve it legally, or it's too expensive and it's not worth litigating. But, it's just important for them to move on with the lawyer's help. Sometimes a court or an agency can help them, but, many times they cannot, or they don't have the money to pursue justice. So it's just important they move on if they can.
I think a lot of times it's communication, which is where most of our problems happen anyways, is the miscommunication and the disconnect. And a lot of times if it's something they can't afford or it's not worth litigating it, just sitting down with somebody and saying, listen, there's another way you can handle this. What if? And those what ifs can really be helpful. What if you try this? What if we do this? They now feel like you took the time to listen to them, that perhaps that really could be a solution for them. And instead of going through months and months of legal hassles, they can actually get this solved and improve the practices in lawyer-client relationships. And that can set the benchmarks for the legal professional system worldwide, because there's going to be problems everywhere.
And I'm going to ask you in a moment about how to improve lawyer-client relationships, but I do want to mention the legal system is moving more toward alternate dispute resolution so that parties can be heard, disputes can be reduced, and perhaps each party can get something that will help their position that they will feel good about and can move on. But what are some other parts of the process that let's say in the lawyer interviewing the client, what are some things the lawyer might be able to do a better job of in meeting with a client and talking to them about their legal problems?
Well, I think transparency, first of all, transparency in billing, clear communications, empathy for the situation. When a person comes to see, somebody for a legal issue, they are emotional. It's the most important thing in the world to them, even though, like you said, it might not even be worth litigating. But just being able to have a helpful ear to sit and listen to what they're saying, write notes on what they're saying, maybe come up with some solutions that really could work for both parties. But it's also a standard of expectation that leads to higher quality legal services that I think sometimes the client may not even understand. And sometimes they may think it's a small issue, which is actually a really large issue. And of course, vice versa. And another thing, Ken, by the way, I think that's helpful, believe it or not, is Zoom meetings. And I know a lot of people don't like them, but just hear me out on this, guys, all of you listening. When you are a client, you're nervous. You don't do this for a living. You've got a problem and you're emotional. But if you could be at your house and you're sitting there on a Zoom meeting talking over this problem, and you have a cup of coffee next to you and you're more relaxed and you're more apropos to listen to what's going on yourself. And I think actually a lot of problems can be solved because you've taken out that anxiety of being in a situation you're not familiar with, which can be fearful. And I think things can escalate in court that way because both sides want to get their say in and say they're right? But I think we're going to see more things being solved that way by taking a step back and saying, well, let's talk about it. And let's see where we can meet in the middle.
And perhaps if, it's not exactly a lawyer's role, perhaps a community leader, a minister, a social worker, a neighbor, someone who knows both parties can act as a facilitator and let each party air their grievances or concerns and help people achieve some kind of compromise. That's a wonderful skill, and you don't have to be a lawyer or a judge to have that skill as acting as a mediator.
But I do think it's important for lawyers to have that so-called extra chapter in their book of learning and to know that you may have a client come to you who thinks it's the most important problem in the world, and you're sitting back going, this is not that important. It's not even going to be able to be litigated. But remember, this person is so upset about it. I think you have to have a little bit of empathy, of course, which I said, but also taking the time to explain this to them in a way they can understand it and give them some solutions. Maybe they need to talk to a counselor. Maybe they need to talk to a family group situation. Could be a mediator, whatever. But I think somehow they will come perhaps to a lawyer first to get that information. And instead of saying, I'm sorry, I can't help you, that just leads to more frustration. It makes them more upset.
So you should listen at least a little bit and just say, I think this agency, this person, this method can be better suited than me and the legal system to help you resolve your problem. And at least they'll be heard and they'll get some guidance. Okay.
Sensitivity and awareness.
I just remind our listeners, we're talking with Marjorie Hope, and she is the author of Connect Diplomacy, and she has a passion for helping the world, individuals and everyone else, to resolve disputes. And she talks about more about this in her book, Connect Diplomacy. And you're listening to Law You Should Know on 90.3 WHPC, the voice of Nassau Community College in Garden City, New York. Marjorie, just tell us a little bit more about your book. What you cover there.
My book is titled
Yes.
Connect Diplomacy, Using Our Differences to Connect. And that's exactly what it's about. We don't have to like everybody. We have to find what we have in common and what our differences are and find the solution. And you may not find the solution, and that's okay too, but find what works so that we can get along. A quick story, Ken. I was on a train in Dubai and had gotten lost, and I was asking a young girl who was from, the Dubai country, and she was helping me with what her world was like. I asked her some different simple questions. When she got off the train, she was a really sweet girl. I see a sheik staring at me. And I went, uh-oh, I hope I didn't do anything wrong. And I said, I hope I have not offended you. He smiled, laughed, said, no, I just care about making money. And it made me laugh. I thought it was the funniest answer. He was really nice. I asked if I could get my picture with him, and he said yes. And the most ultimate thing happened is, as different as we were night and day, different ideologies, different religions, different skin color, a man, a woman. In the picture, he gave me a thumbs up. That to me told me I was right on what I had been learning all along through my travels. And that's that people are people. We all have a need for eating, sleeping, security, peace, and we all have to go to the bathroom. And I know everybody laughs when they hear that, but that brings it back to the commonality that we are just people sharing one planet. It's called Earth, and that's all it is.
And you mentioned earlier about the importance of being heard in disputes and legal matters. And when someone has heard someone or acknowledges them, is that thumbs up just a valuable, simple signal and symbol that you got it, you feel their pain, you understand what they're saying?
Yeah, I mean, I think an example, when you travel to a different country, as an example, you want to learn, you're not going to learn the whole language, but you want to say hello and thank you. And it's respectful to, and that's what it's all about, is respecting and being able to hear what somebody has to say. And a lot of times you can understand somebody that's not even speaking your language if you really listen, because they'll make movements with their arms and their hands and their face. You can see if they're happy, if they're not happy.
But is that thumbs up kind of a universal symbol, not subject to great, other interpretation? So even here, if you're having a dispute, someone brings a problem or complaint to your attention, if you just give them the thumbs up, and that could be the title of your next book, does it just mean they've been heard, they've been acknowledged, and you don't want to escalate it from there?
Yeah, I'll tell you another quick story. Thousands of years ago, you've heard the saying, let's go get a bite to eat. Let's go, have a drink. Let's go sit and have some lunch or some dinner. There's a reason for that. Because thousands of years ago, when everybody had their swords and wanted to kill each other, they would sit down to eat something. And in order to do that, you had to put your sword down, because you can't eat with a sword. So the first thing that would happen is, oh, this is good food, or can I have some more, or do you want some more? And the next thing you know, you're having a conversation. So you see, we found something in common versus, that's my country, that's my land, I'm going to kill you, but and it actually connects you. And that's what connecting all of us is all about. When you're talking to a client and they're so upset and they're emotional, you have to find a way to connect with them. And that could just be a smile. It's going to be okay, having some empathy, or sitting down and talking about some different ways it can be worked out. That alone can mean the world to somebody. Like, well, maybe it will all work out. Here's my choices.
And if they feel connected to you as their lawyer, they're going to be more satisfied with your services and perhaps bring you other work and make recommendations of your services.
That's right. And people want to have respect. And when they are being understood, and, and clients have diverse backgrounds, obviously, and they want to hear you're being sensitive to their needs, that you are listening to their needs. And I think the legal profession, and again, I call it a new chapter, but they have to have that sensitivity chapter that, again, will go. And then the other thing is, maybe the problem was simple and they were just obviously very emotional about it, but maybe there will be another situation, and the way life is, right? And they will come right back to you, and you will be the one they're going to come to and say, all right, this time there's something different. Maybe it's a divorce, maybe whatever. And you will be their guy or girl. But it's important to show that connection, that you represent what they are going through, and that you understand not necessarily exactly what they're going through, because it's not your situation, but you understand where they are coming from and their unsettling situation.
And you're going to be a good listener, and you're going to give them good advice and help them as best you can to resolve their problem or get them to a better place.
Yeah, the awareness develops being inclusive, basically, that awareness, and then ensuring that legal services are available to them if they need it. And that's another thing, not pushing the legal services, like you have to do this, you have to do that, but offering it like a menu, well, these are your choices. You could do this, let it be their choice, because at the end of the day, they are going to respect you so much more. And they are going to want to be with you when there is a real problem.
And just as a doctor, a medical doctor, or an auto mechanic or other expert may offer you different options for resolving a problem, including just watchful waiting or making a minor repair versus major surgery, you as a lawyer want to do the same.
Yeah, it's about connecting with each other. And as a lawyer, you have to find the way to connect with your client. And that could be different for every single person. You could have a client that doesn't want to come in the office. Connect with them over Zoom. You could have a client that only wants to work, maybe wants to come in the office all the time. But again, it's communication and connecting with what their needs are that will work for you. Because if that works for them, it really works for you in the long run.
And in appropriate matters, sometimes lawyers might make house calls. Maybe it's convenient for them. The client will feel more at ease in the home. Maybe they're elderly or disabled and can't, travel. Maybe it's a real estate issue and the lawyer needs to look at the physical premises. And you'll learn so much more about your client and perhaps even bond with them if you go visit them.
Yeah, a strong relationship with a client can actually facilitate, better cooperation and understanding in all of the cases that you're dealing with. Again, it's communication, it's connecting, it's listening to what they're saying. Perhaps they're just scared to go out of their house because of what happened to them. Yeah, then I think that's an excellent idea. Make it a house call. Perhaps they only want to meet in a certain location because they don't want other people to see them. You have to listen to what they're saying and their needs are. But again, by listening and then connecting with them, and I also think it would be a great idea when you are talking with clients, going back to what I said about the food, doesn't mean you have to have a meal. Have a snack. It could be coffee, tea. In fact, a hot beverage goes a long way with clients, because when you're drinking a hot beverage, whether it be coffee, tea, or water, the steam from a hot beverage, you have to breathe it in and you have to breathe it out because it's so hot, and it immediately calms you down. So the first thing you should do if you have an upset client is say, let's have a drink. Would you prefer coffee, tea, or maybe some hot water? But get them to drink that hot beverage because they're going to calm down. And you can try it yourself to see that this works every time.
And also, I just want to say, if you're visiting, you might be visiting their office or their business or their home, and you can learn a lot about them by what you see going around, in their environment. You can also maybe make small talk with them to put them more at ease. So it might just be a different way of bonding with them, communicating with them, and putting them more at ease.
Tremendously. And that's where your first communication with them should be is, I'm so happy that you contacted me. Let's talk about you for a minute. What are your needs? What do you like to do? If you hear, I don't like to ever go out of the house, I am so, that's going to clue you in right there. They probably want a house visit. Or, I just want to do this in private. I can't have anybody hearing or seeing me. Again, that clues you in that maybe you need to have a back door where they can come in and sit down with you and you can talk in private. But by listening to them and by connecting with their needs, that's going to facilitate future success in all of your cases.
And perhaps also lawyers should ask during that interview or meeting, have I answered all your questions? Do you have any other concerns? And maybe it's good for doctors to ask that question or other professionals to ask that question too, because maybe there was something they were holding back or they didn't think was relevant, and you probably would want to hear more rather than less, so you're not missing anything.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a simple question like, what else can you tell me? Or what else is going on? An open-ended question that's very simple, not threatening, but just, what else can you tell me about, let's say it's a family situation. Perhaps it is a divorce. What happened in the early days? Was it exciting? Or what could you tell me? What some great memories?
Or also what your goals are, and after you resolve this, where this whatever it is, where would you like to be? I just want to.
Yeah, it's just pulling information.
What is your website, and how can a listener find out more about your book or obtain it?
Sure. Well, my website is itsmarjoriehope.com. My email is marjoriehope@itsmarjoriehope.com. My book is on Amazon and Barnes & Noble, and I'd love to hear from everybody.
And what are 3 things that people will learn by reading your book?
They're going to learn about connecting with each other. They're going to learn, I should say, about the positivity of our world. And the third most important is that people are people. And the anxiety and all the changes in the world, if they're making you nervous, you're not alone, but we will be okay because we just have to do it anyway.
And is it good for lawyers to help people find the positivity in their situation, as dire is it as it may be, and give 100%. Them hope and positivity about moving on and what they can do to resolve that problem and moving on from that problem?
Yeah, and I really like the menu idea, because you can say, if you go this route, like let's say it's court, and it's going to take us to here, and the possibility of this happening. Or if you go this route, these are the possibilities where it can take us. And at the end of the day, you can say to your client, what is your idea for a resolution? And if they say, well, I just want it to go away, I don't want to have to deal with this, kind of know they don't want to take that long route. But again, you have to give them some choices to find out what they really want. And it's listening, it's communicating.
Okay, thank you so much. I would like to thank Marjorie Hope for being our guest on Law You Should Know, and the author of the book, Connect Diplomacy. If you missed any portion of the show or you want to tell someone else about it, just go to the website, nccradio.org, and please tune in next week at this same time on 90.3 WHPC Radio, the voice of Nassau Community College in Garden City, New York, for another program on Law You Should Know.